wherever he wanted to. It was probably 9 months before my brother-in-law got back out on the golf course, and my husband was on the golf course the entire time. And he was so elated. He goes, Diane, game changer.
Before you have surgery for that joint pain, get a second opinion. Call QC Kinetics for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 904-274-5522. That's 904-274-5522. 904-274-5522.
Northeast Florida Safety Council has been keeping Florida safe for 80 years. I'm Dominic Whitley, Environmental Health and Safety Director. What kind of safety culture have you developed at your business? Safety is a saver of lives, limb, and the bottom line. A great safety culture protects your most important investments, your employees and your business, and results in great success. Let us help you develop a successful safety culture. Visit us at nefsc.org and become an elite member today. Again, that is nefsc.org.
Tacos, tequila, and tunes. The third annual Jacksonville Taco and Margarita Festival returns to TIAA Bank Field April 22nd. Check out Jacksonville's best food trucks, serving up an amazing variety of mouth-watering tacos with margaritas, tequila, and ice-cold beer. Fun for the whole family with live music, kids' activities, and so much more. Parking is free. It's not your average Taco Fest. Enjoy as you go with GA or Grande with VIP passes. Available now at TIAABankfield.com.
At Andy's Automotive and Truck Services, they know that your company's fleet is more than just a bunch of cars and trucks. It's your livelihood, your reputation, your pride. So when you need routine fleet maintenance or emergency repairs, Andy's offers after-hours and mobile service to minimize your downtime and keep your fleet running like new. While you care for your employees and customers, rest assured Andy's Automotive will take care of your fleet. Visit the team at andysats.com.
Are you a meat lover searching for quality cuts? Southern uses a vacuum tumbler to marinate and tenderize our chicken and world-famous steak tips.
Now open in Ortega. For tasty tips and juicy breasts, choose Southern Steer Butcher.
1010XL is your home for Gator sports.
That ball's ripped.
When you hear Florida Gators baseball on 1010XL, it's brought to you by Renewal by Anderson, the official window and door replacement partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733.
Fair ball, home run.
Catch Gators baseball all season long on 1010XL. This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. The sports world keeps spinning and the local conversation continues. Now, Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Wednesday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us. Middle of the week, 2 weeks from tomorrow. The NFL Draft out in Kansas City. At this point tomorrow night, if the weather cooperates, the Orange and Blue game down in Gainesville with the University of Florida. Miami's spring game is on Friday night, and the Florida State Seminoles have the Garnet and Gold game on Saturday afternoon over in Tallahassee. So we got a lot to do. We are glad you are with us. Coming up in hour number one, about 20 minutes away, Bill Bender, national college football writer for the Sporting News. We'll talk a little Florida State and Miami, as again, all three wrapping up spring practice. So Gator, Hurricane, and Seminole talk with Bill Bender of the Sporting News coming up in about 20 minutes. Coming up at 9 o'clock, about an hour from now, Tyler Rowland, the host of the Locked On Titans podcast. I want to talk about the Tennessee Titans offseason. I want to talk about Arden Key. I want to talk about everything the Titans have done. Where do they stand with both Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry? And how legit are the Anthony Richardson rumors? We'll get into all of that at a little before 9 o'clock tonight with Tyler Rowland, the host of the Locked On Titans podcast. But as we do every night, to kick it off here on Hacker After Dark, we do give you a big deal of the night and Dylan Denmark. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal? What is the big deal?
No big deal. It is a big deal. On Hacker After Dark.
All right, so a little college football to start tonight's festivities. Again, Bill Bender of the Sporting News about 20 minutes away. Florida, Florida State, and Miami over the next 72 hours will all conclude spring football. The Gators are first out of the gate tomorrow night, followed by the Hurricanes on Friday and the Seminoles on Saturday. Let's spend a little bit of time on those three teams in particular. And Florida and Miami, it's been a very interesting offseason, right? Both teams, both coaching staffs coming off of year number one, not living up to expectations. I would bet that any Miami fan you talked to 12 months ago, all sorts of fired up for Mario Cristobal's first year in Coral Gables, never in their wildest dreams did they think they would ultimately lose to, is that my wife calling me? That's a $50 fine. Go ahead and mute that, Denmark. Unbelievable. The wife calling me on the air. All right, back into my Florida Gator monologue. The Billy Napier-led Florida Gators in year number one certainly did not live up to expectations. Neither did Mario Cristobal and the Miami Hurricanes. You ask Hurricane fans, in their wildest dreams, are you going to go to a bowl game? Every one of them would have said, yeah, we'll at least make a bowl game. Every one of them. And the fact that Miami did not go to a bowl game in year number one was shocking. Absolutely shocking. The fact that they lost games like they did with the Middle Tennessee, right? That was one of their losses. Just shocking. You talk about Florida, same thing. Billy Napier, year number one. In Gator fans' wildest imagination 12 months ago, did you think you would lose to Vanderbilt? Did you think you would beat Utah but still lose 6 regular season games? Of course not. It was borderline disastrous for both Florida and for Miami. So let's begin with those two. Let's begin with the Florida Gators, who have their orange and blue spring game tomorrow night. Billy Napier has met the media many times over the spring. The last time he met the media, he talked about the quarterback they got out of the transfer portal. Truthfully, it was the quarterback that not a lot of Gator fans were happy about. It was the quarterback that not a lot of Gator fans are still happy about, but it's what you got. Graham Mertz, the transfer from Wisconsin, appears to be the guy at the University of Florida going into the orange and blue game tomorrow night. Here was Billy Napier at his last press conference talking about quarterback Graham Mertz.
Graham Mertz has been impressive to watch. Just his maturity, his ability to learn a new system in a very quick manner. He did 2-a-days basically since the day he got here. He's been grinding away behind the scenes, and he's hit the ground running. He operates like a guy who's been around here. And the most important thing here is that he has forced the other players to rise to the occasion.
Yeah, I guess. Here's the thing about Graham Mertz, all right? And here's the reason that, to me, a lot of Gator fans were very frustrated about that. There were a lot of opportunities in the transfer portal for Florida to get bigger names, more successful quarterbacks. You look at Sam Hartman, what he did at Wake Forest. Remember all the talk about Sam Hartman and Florida being a good fit? Did not materialize, as Sam Hartman ended up at Notre Dame. Devin Leary, North Carolina State, what he did in the ACC with the North Carolina State Wolfpack, again, did not materialize. As he ends up against or with Kentucky, he will play Florida this year in the Kentucky Blue there in the Commonwealth. Spencer Sanders, Oklahoma State, another big-time quarterback, a very successful quarterback. He ends up in the SEC at Ole Miss, and he's actually competing for a job there in Oxford. It's not being handed to him, as it appears that it's likely being handed to Graham Mertz in Gainesville. So Graham Mertz's numbers, all right? He played at Wisconsin 25-30, played in 32 football games. He has completed 59% of his passes for 5,405 yards. He has thrown 38 touchdowns, 26 interceptions. It's not terrible. It's not terrible. Last year in 12 games, threw for 2,000 yards, 19 touchdowns, 10 picks. What have we said about Graham Mertz on this program, really the entire offseason leading up to the orange and blue game tomorrow night? Is he going to do the SportsCenter top 10 plays that Anthony Richardson did? Of course not. He's not going to run for 80 yards. They're not going to ask him to do that. He couldn't do it anyway if they did ask. Is he going to throw the ball 75 yards in the air? No, he's probably not going to do that either. But what you need Graham Mertz to do is on 3rd down and 5 in Salt Lake City on Labor Day night, complete a 6-yard down and out for a first down. That's what you need. Is it the sexiest thing going for a college offense? No. But it'll get the job done. Is Florida going to throw a lot of 50 and 60-yard bombs? No. But at this point, on 3rd and 5, you give me 6 yards and a first down, I'll take it. Because as great as Anthony Richardson was and as good as I believe he will be in the National Football League, on a lot of those 3rd down and 5s last year, he could not make that 6-yard throw. He could make the 6D yard throw, but he could not make the 6-yard throw. And that's what the Gator offense is going to be, right? When you got running backs like Montrell Johnson, you got a running back like Trevor Etienne, you've invested so much in the transfer portal to rebuild the offensive line, you're going to be a running football team. This is not the fun and gun of Steve Spurrier. This is not the spread of Urban Meyer. This is going to be a run-first football team, a play-action football team. And you hope Graham Mertz can do that. Austin Barber, formerly of Trinity Christian, offensive tackle, now at the University of Florida. He will be starting on the Gator offensive line. He was on XL Primetime earlier today, and he was asked also about Graham Mertz and what he has shown so far this spring.
You know, I've seen a big competition. You know, we got two highly talented quarterbacks in there that go in there and battle every day during practice, and I feel like they both put the work in and day out to, you know, try to separate themselves. And, you know, I think you'll see a lot of competition tomorrow. I think there's a lot of things people will be excited for. You see in both quarterbacks, and, you know, personally, I'm excited to see the competition because, you know, in practice we play with both quarterbacks, and, you know, I just want to see them both succeed.
And that competition, maybe there's a competition. Jack Miller is the other guy involved. Jack Miller has started one game at the University of Florida. It was the last game in the Las Vegas Bowl, and it was a disaster. As Oregon State, I forget the final score, but it was an awful lot to an awful little when Oregon State just did whatever they wanted to against Florida back on, what was that, December 17th or whatever that day was. I don't believe there's a real competition. I think Graham Mertz is going to be the starting quarterback. What I'm interested in is when the transfer portal opens back up here at the end of April, because it will open back up. How many quarterbacks from around the country that maybe lose a spring battle, maybe are not named the starter, are going to be leveled to a backup role, how many will enter the portal, and does Florida have an opportunity to upgrade over Graham Mertz and over Jack Miller? We will certainly wait and see. So that's the Florida side of things. Miami gets their spring concluded on Friday night. Very similar, as we talked about earlier. Disappointing year in Coral Gables last year. Really disappointing. I mean, Hurricane fans, you did not bring Mario Cristobal in to go 5-7. And I remember that last game of the year, who was it against Pitt? That was embarrassing. There was some question, at least I had, as if some of those Miami players wanted to be there. And maybe that was answered this offseason because there was a lot of attrition, right? A lot of guys left the program. A lot of guys came in through the portal. Tyler Van Dyke is back. But Miami has as many questions, if not more, than the Gators. And no offense to the Atlantic Coast Conference, and I guess I'm putting my SEC homer glasses on here, but Cristobal in year 2 compared to Napier in year 2, well, Miami's going to have an easier time of it. There's no question about that. You just compare the schedule of the Hurricanes, compare that to the schedule of the Florida Gators. Mario Cristobal, on paper, has an easier time of it. They should improve. Both guys, to me, are not on the hot seat. However, you know as well as I do, Hurricane fan here in Jacksonville, Gator fan here in Jacksonville, you guys are not patient. You guys do not have a lot of patience when it comes to your football programs. And if Miami doesn't show noticeable improvement, going from 5 wins to, I would say, minimum 8, And if Florida doesn't do the same thing, go from 6 wins last year to minimum 8, then going into 2024, I do think at that point there will be a little bit of pressure on both Mario Cristobal and Billy Napier. You combine that with Florida State, and their spring ends on Saturday, the Garnet and Gold game. 12 months ago, who would have ever told you that Mike Norvell was the most stable coach and Florida State was the best program in the state of Florida? But that's where we are. Mike Norvell is the most stable coach in this state of the Big Three. Florida State is the state champion. They beat both Miami and Florida last year, and the expectations in Tallahassee are sky high coming into 2023. So here's the situation, all right? If you're Florida and Miami, as much as you don't want to do this, take a lesson from your Florida State brethren. Florida State showed patience with Mike Norvell. Year 1 was awful. Year 2 was awful. Year 3, he entered on the hot seat. They stuck with him. 10 wins. They're going to be preseason top 10 here in 2023. Can Florida and Miami have the same patience and the same results? Florida, I'm telling you guys, you look at that schedule. Find me 8 wins on the Gator schedule. And unless you're just a orange and blue, just die hard, bandwagon, whatever you want to call it, can't see anything but orange and blue goggles, you will be hard-pressed to find 8 wins on that Gator schedule. But patience. Look at what Billy Napier is doing in recruiting. Look at the 2024 class. Look ahead already to the 2025 class. Patience. Miami, same thing. You could be in for a tough 2023 as well, but follow Florida State's blueprint. Now, if Mike Norvell didn't win last year, it would be a completely different narrative right now. But he did. And why did he win? Because he was given the opportunity to go into a year 3 because Florida State showed patience. That's what the Gators have to show. That's what the Hurricanes have to show. Again, 3 spring football games in the next 72 hours. Bill Bender is the national college football writer for the Sporting News. Let's talk orange and blue game. Let's talk the Miami spring game. Let's talk the Garnet and Gold game and more with Bill Bender of the Sporting News. He's next. It's a Wednesday night edition of Hacker After Dark with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Jacksonville, we're glad you're with us here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Fun and games.
Just say game on and let us play.
Because games are fun. There's 1010XL.
Tired of the same old places for happy hour? Downtown's best is at Bellwether. It's Tuesday through Saturday from 4 to 7, with the exception on Friday when happy hour starts at 11 because why not? For all you late-nighters, Bellwether offers nightcap specials on Friday and Saturday from 9 to 11. Want a snack with your cocktail? Bellwether has a unique bar food spread. And guess what? All metered parking is free after 6 and weekends. That's Bellwether downtown.
Waste Management is paying a $5,000 bonus to CDL drivers and heavy truck mechanics for jobs in Jacksonville, Green Cove Springs, Callahan, and St. Augustine. Apply online at wm.com/careers.
Equal opportunity employer.
Do you have a VA loan? In this housing market, homeowners with VA loans have access to a ton of instant cash. Hey, it's Prosser here. Do you need cash to pay off credit cards and other high-interest loans? Does a check for 80 or 90 grand sound about right now? Well, Loan Pronto is helping veterans every day get the money they need with a quick and easy zero-cost cash-out refi with zero closing costs. With a VA loan, it's really cool because you can access up to 100% of your home's value. Use that money to pay off credit cards, home equity lines, car loans, consolidate all your payments into one check per month, and close in 2 weeks. Most homeowners who do this end up cutting their overall monthly payments by $800. Loan Pronto's all-digital process makes it fast and easy. They're doing loans with super low APRs, and they love working with veterans. Call now to see what your options are. Call Loan Pronto at 999-1508. That's 904-999-1508. Or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Sorry, but we actually have a wait list for our Monstera.
Shaw's greenhouse is really bringing in the green.
We can't keep snake plants in stock.
She needs a construction manager to build on her roots and grow.
We could add a whole section for ferns, and here we'd have dahlias, dahlias, and more dahlias.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
This Date in Sports History is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On April 12, 1965, the first NL game at Houston's Astrodome took place. Phillies beat the Astros 2-0, spoiling their debut at their new home.
It's that time of the year again for the taste of golf. So come join your boy at TPC Sawgrass on April 26th for fine cuisine from the top chefs in the area, craft cocktails, fun games, and unique auction items. This signature event is ideal for networking with a substantial and sophisticated audience who is passionate about the game of golf, the intrinsic values associated with it, and of course, impacting the youth of our community. Y'all know he love the kids. All proceeds benefit First Tee North Florida. So get your tickets at tasteofgolf.com. Come on, somebody.
All year long you'll be singing our song. Stay cooler with Bueller. At the head of our class, we make it happen fast. Stay cooler with Bueller. For heating and air, we always play fair. We make the difference 'cause we really care. Bueller Air. Stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey, it's Matt Hayes, and I said yes to Yas, Dr. Mitchell Yas, and the Yas method. Now, I know you've probably tried medications, treatments, injections, even surgery. Maybe the reason you're still in pain is because they're treating the wrong thing and not addressing the root causes. Well, I know from personal experience, this does happen. But I found the best-kept secret in pain elimination, Dr. Yas and the Yas method. Call him today, 904-906-YASS, and say yes to Yas.
Your quick and easy solution for paying the lowest price on car insurance is Estrella Insurance. E to the T here and start saving the big bucks and pay less today. Call 1-800-CAR-INSURANCE and see for yourself. That's 1-800-CAR-INSURANCE or visit EstrellaInsurance.com.
This is your Mad Dad's Update with Chapter President Donald Ford.
Hello, Jacksonville. On April 15th, Mad Dads will be celebrating 20 years of service in the city of Jacksonville and the surrounding communities and families to make our city a safer place to live. With all the violence and crime going on, we understand that someone has to take a stand if we want to rid our city of crime and violence. We have done any number of camps in our neighborhoods and have been there for the families to get closure for the loss of a loved one. This celebration is not open to everyone. You have to have an invitation. We want an enjoyable day for Mad Dads to fellowship with one another. Sheriff T.K. Waters will be the guest speaker.
For information about Mad Dad, go to Mad Dads Jacksonville Chapter Facebook or MadDadsJacksonville.com.
This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL. Now, hello. Another great guest on the Farah and Farah phone line. Brought to you by the Accident Attorneys at Farah and Farah.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. You know, we've been so caught up in the NFL draft that you don't realize that spring football actually comes to an end this week in Florida, Florida State, and Miami. The orange and blue game Thursday night, while the Hurricanes and the Seminoles will conclude their spring festivities this next weekend. Bill Bender of the Sporting News covers the world of college football, does a terrific job for the Sporting News, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Bill, I trust your off-season's been going well, man. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks so much for having me on.
Hey, Bill, we always appreciate it. And all right, spring football, right in the heart of it. I want to get into the Gators, the Seminoles, and the Hurricanes with you. Before we do that, though, this idea has been talked about in the past. It's come back up recently. Hugh Freeze, the new head coach at Auburn, made mention to it last week. The idea of spring football culminating with playing different teams, different programs, having a kind of a game, if you will, like an NFL preseason game type deal. Bill, do you ever think we'll see a day where that'll happen in the world of college football?
Maybe. And as somebody that's kind of done a bunch of spring games, and I know you've watched them as well. I mean, there's a shelf life and a shelf limit to how much you really take out of it. I do like the idea of an exhibition game. I mean, every pro sport does it, whether you like NFL preseason or MLB exhibition. I mean, it does spice it up a little bit. So if Auburn were to play UAB, would I be more interested in that for a couple plays than I would a traditional spring game or a funky format spring game? Absolutely. And I think that's something that will continue to get looked at down the line. What now, whether or not they can execute that on academic calendars and those kind of things remains to be seen.
Yeah, this is not, Southern Cal playing Ohio State. Hugh Freeze's idea, like you said, Auburn plays a UAB. What Troy would play Alabama. You bring it to our state, maybe FIU, Florida, FAU, Florida Atlantic, things are against Miami, things of those sorts. And I guess my question, Bill, is I never thought I'd see a day where we had a 12-team playoff. We're about to have one. Never in my life did I think Texas and Oklahoma would be in the SEC and Southern Cal and UCLA would be in the Big Ten. That's about to happen. So people that say they'll never have spring football games like this, I'm at the point now, Bill, where you never say never in the world of college football. It's just so different from how it has been.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I mean, there'll be more changes. The thing I've been asked a lot about this summer or spring, I guess, it's not summer quite yet, the realignment wheels. What's next in realignment with the Pac-12, with the Big 12, and, who's next. And every time I think that it's over, you get that notification on your phone that UCLA and USC are going to the Big Ten. So, I mean, there's changes to be made. And like you said, it's 5 years from now, you and I may not recognize the product we're watching now. So as long as you can embrace the change, find the good at it, the actual game on the field is great. It's just everything around it has changed so much. I think it throws people off a little bit.
Bill Bender of the Sporting News here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. All right, Bill, let's start down south and work our way up the state. In Coral Gables, year 2 for Mario Cristobal. Clearly, year number 1 did not go the way everybody hoped it would down in South Florida. They look on paper to have another decent team. Tyler Van Dyke back and brand new coordinators. We'll see what happens there. But what's your early thought on Miami heading into 2023?
Well, I mean, obviously, like you said, it didn't work out. I mean, it just went downhill after that loss to Texas A&M. A lot of high hopes for what they had. Tyler Van Dyke back. Defense should have a couple, impact transfers that they got. At the end of the day, I think they're further away from competing for an ACC championship than maybe even I thought they were last year. But, in that wide open format, they could still get in the top half of that conference, and I think that needs to be part of it. Now, NIL, and you're probably closer to this than I am, NIL in Florida is a little different, right? I mean, when you lose commitments, a 5-star commit quarterback goes somewhere else, those kind of things seem to be happening a little more down in Florida than in other places.
That's the truth, and they both happen at Miami and at Florida. And you mentioned the new ACC. For people that don't know, divisions are gone in the ACC. Now it's kind of free-for-all, if you will, and the last 2 teams, or the best 2 teams at the end of the year, will play in the ACC championship game. Will the casual fan notice any difference with that, Bill, the fact that divisions are gone in the Atlantic Coast Conference?
Probably not, just because the Coastal was so wide open anyway. I think it's the Pac-12 proved that format, the way that they did it last year, it worked. It got a very good conference championship game in Utah and USC. And I mean, the COVID year with the ACC showed that could work. Even though they borrowed Notre Dame for a year, you did get the 2 best teams in the conference championship game. In fact, you got those 2 teams in the playoff that year. So I have no problem with conferences, Power 5 conferences, doing this format to ensure that they get the 2 best teams in, because that gives you a better shot, at least for one more year, of getting teams in the 14 playoff.
Bill, one more thought on Miami before we head to Gainesville, and I'll ask you the same thing about Napier here in a moment. There's no pressure on Cristobal as far as the hot seat. I'm not insinuating that, but you know as well as I do, and covering the game as long as you have, there's not a lot of patience in this state, and they went 5-7 in Coral Gables last year. I mean, if they go 6-6 this year, which would technically be an improvement, then I think at that point, heading into 2024, Mario might need to win a little bit. What's your thought on that?
Yes, I mean, like you want to progress each year. So, like, let's say 7 to 8 is a reasonable. Although, like you said, we're not dealing with reasonable fan bases. That would be a show of progress and competing. Like I always tell people, sometimes I don't focus solely on the win-loss total, as opposed to I focus on the games you lost and how you lost them. So, Miami could go 10-2 or 11-1, and what if they play Clemson in the ACC championship and lose by 50 points? Is that progress? I don't know.
Bill Bender of the Sporting News. Now to Gainesville, and it's kind of the same song and dance as we just talked about in Coral Gables. Year one did not go the way that Florida fans hoped it would under Billy Napier, as they went 6-6, and then that bowl game, I don't know what that was, against Oregon State. So they finished at 6-7. You think you got a 5-star quarterback coming in Jaden Rashada, as you alluded to, and the NIL falls through, egg on the face for both the player and the university. And at the end of the day, Anthony Richardson leaves, and Wisconsin transfer Graham Mertz appears to be the Gators starting quarterback heading into the year. A lot of Gator fans here, Bill, are not, I guess they don't have the highest expectations heading into 2023. What's your thought on Florida right now?
Well, it starts with that quarterback position. Graham Mertz is not an exciting name. Jack Miller, I mean, maybe, he could break through and get that. I think the big year for Billy Napier in terms of, I don't think he'd get fired, but from a direction standpoint, because one of the disconnects right now, and this is as somebody that follows the NFL draft a little bit, is I've had to explain to people is why did Florida have the record they had if Anthony Richardson's in discussion to be the top pick in the NFL draft? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying there? Like, that is like how that could happen. And I think that goes down to the offense being disjointed. Didn't really play well in some games. Didn't look good against Florida State for most of the game. So I think all of those things come to a head, especially when Tennessee's kind of taken that step forward where Florida should be.
Well, and you brought up a great point. It's something I've alluded to here many times this offseason. For people that don't follow Florida football, if you're an NFL fan in Boise, Idaho, and when you look back at Anthony Richardson's college numbers, I think you'll be stunned. The guy threw less than 400 passes, started only 13 games, won only 6 of those games. He just didn't play a whole lot in Gainesville. To me, Bill, if Richardson goes on to have the NFL career I believe he will have, boy, it's going to be really a sad state of affairs of what could have been there in Gainesville, and really a lost opportunity. Having said that, it is Graham Mertz's team now, but I look at that schedule that Florida has, including opening night, Labor Day weekend against Utah in Salt Lake City. You got to go to LSU. You got Georgia and Jacksonville, Florida State. I mean, on down the line, boy, it's a tall order for Florida this year, I think, in 2023.
It is, and it's a tough schedule, and, that Tennessee game will be another barometer. Obviously, they played Tennessee tight last year. It went down to the end. They just couldn't get enough stops. But certainly, again, I don't assign a win total, but those games you highlighted, do they beat Utah this time? That was a really good early season game last year that we all overreacted to, and it turned out it didn't mean as much for Florida as maybe we thought. Georgia, I mean, I don't know if I can – that's another state of the program type deal, is where I'm not really considering Florida in the same weight class as Georgia right now, because I don't know that anybody's in Georgia's weight class right now in the entire sport.
And I'll tell you this, too. If Florida's 12 games next year, I'm not the biggest gambling man, although I do respect the guys that make the odds. Look, I think Florida might be a favorite in 4 of their games. I think maybe a toss-up or 2, but they're going to clearly be the underdog in 6 or 7 of those football games next year. So they're going to have to pull off some upsets, even if they want to go bowling. That's really where Florida is right now. Final moments with Bill Bender of the Sporting News. Bill, that is not the case in Tallahassee. Seminole fans are fired up. They think they might have something this year. Pretty much anybody that could come back did come back. Jordan Travis is back for year number 9, it seems like, in Tallahassee. I mean, are you as high on Florida State as the fan base is here?
You know, when you look at all the preseason publications that are sure to come out in the summer, it's a very good bet that Florida State will be a consensus number 5, number 6 team. And that top 4 being Alabama, Georgia, in any order, Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan. And then it's Penn State and Florida State, 2 teams that haven't. Florida State has been to the playoff. But, yeah, Travis is a big reason why. That development, that dual threat ability, the running game was dominant last year at times. And, you know, they lost close games. But it kind of circles back to what we were talking about with Mario and Billy Napier is Mike Norvell was on that hot seat too. And now all of a sudden you show that little bit of patience, you get through, you get those recruiting classes in, and all of a sudden they can win 10 games. I think Florida State, to me, it's not about winning 9 or 10 games this year. It's whether or not they can topple Clemson and take over the ACC and maybe get back to the college football playoff. And Jordan Travis will be a big piece of that.
You know, you make a great point. It's something we've talked about briefly here. Not that Miami and Florida fans want to take any advice from their Florida State brethren in the state, but you said it. 12 months ago right now, Mike Norvell was on the hot seat. He needed to win, or he might have been in trouble. And then last year, you could argue he should have won Coach of the Year nationally. So Florida and Miami, if they can have the patience that Florida State did, it might turn out well for them. The one thing that Norvell has mastered, though, Bill, and I don't know how he does it year in and year out, that guy is an absolute genius in the transfer portal. He gets playmakers out of there that have come in and just completely changed the direction of that program.
Yeah, and I think, you know, that's amazing, you know, and he won at Memphis, and he's got a chance to do that. I think the LSU game, I remember how wild that one was last year, and it set a tone for both. And it's amazing to me that I remember the overreaction I had last year to Florida State LSU was probably the wrong one. Both had great seasons. LSU had a great season. They got back on track, went to an SEC championship game. Florida State obviously went to a big-time bowl game, won their rivalry game, did a lot of good things, played Clemson tight. So those are 2 programs, and I would say LSU is the next one in that list I mentioned. That LSU, Penn State, Florida State, all in tough conferences, all got a big hurdle to climb, but all very much in the mix for the college football playoff this season.
Bill Bender of the Sporting News. Bill, final question. Look, we'll hopefully have you on in the summer again, right around or a little before media days, and we'll take a deeper dive into the season. But as we sit here right now, Georgia again, you know, 5 stars leave, 5 stars come off the bench and replace them. Now they got to replace Todd Monken, and they got to replace Stetson Bennett. So it's a little different this year. But do you see anybody in the SEC outside of Alabama that can compete with the Georgia Bulldogs?
No, that'd be the short answer. And I think it's just that accumulation of 4- and 5-star talent. And I get that they're replacing their quarterback in Carson Beck. But if you look at their schedule, it's really hard to spot a loss through the first 10 games. Now, stranger things have happened in college football, and they do. And there's never been, at least in my lifetime, a team that's three-peated. So it's not going to be easy. But, yeah, I think outside of that, Alabama, Ohio State, maybe Michigan, maybe some of those schools I mentioned in that next tier. I mean, the Bulldogs, they're reloading. And it's impressive. I think the conversation could really turn into, is Kirby Smart the best coach in college football right now ahead of Nick Saban? And it's hard not to say yes, given on what they've done the last 2 years. Not all time, but right now.
Yeah, what are you talking, 29-1 the last 2 years, back-to-back national championships. It is just an embarrassment of riches there at the University of Georgia, and we hope Carson Beck wins that job. He quarterbacked Mandarin High School here in Jacksonville to a state championship not all that long ago. Bill Bender of the Sporting News. Bill, I know you're busy. Thank you for the time. We'll talk again later on this summer.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me on.
There you go. Bill Bender of the Sporting News. Always appreciate his time here on Hacker After Dark. You know, he alluded to the Georgia Bulldogs schedule, and I've made mention of this a couple of times, but it's not all their fault. Let me preface it by saying that. They originally had Oklahoma on this schedule, and then when Oklahoma decided to join the SEC, the game came off, and Georgia had to find a replacement. So before I completely rip their schedule, there is at least a reason why it's as bad as it is. Having said that, the two-time defending national champions that are 29-1 in the last 30 games, this is who Georgia plays. They open it up Saturday, September 2nd, at home against Tennessee Martin. Saturday, September 9th, they return to Athens, and they welcome in Ball State. Saturday, September 16th, a game in Athens against South Carolina. Saturday, September 23rd, you guessed it, a game in Athens against UAB. Then, on Saturday, September 30th, they do hit the road to go to Auburn. End of the month of October, first week of October, they welcome in the Kentucky Wildcats. Then they go at Vanderbilt on the 14th. The cocktail party here on the 28th. End of the month of November where they host Missouri. Then they host Ole Miss on the 11th, followed by back-to-back road games to close the year at Tennessee, at Georgia Tech. Georgia will be a 20-point favorite in 9 of their 12 games. Is that fair? 9 of the 12, they'll be a 20-point favorite. I think you look at it. The only games where they won't be a 20-point favorite, probably at Auburn, although I bet it's close. Denmark, will they be a 20-point favorite against Kentucky?
Yes.
I think they probably will because it's in Athens. Heck, will they be a 20-point favorite here against the Gators?
It was, what was it last year? It was right at it.
It was right around it. And then at Tennessee, they probably won't be a 20-point favorite. But I bet you could argue in 9 or 10 of the 12 games Georgia's going to play, they will be a 3-touchdown favorite. Again, not all their fault. Oklahoma was originally on this schedule. Came off when they joined the SEC. But there is no doubt the non-conference schedule for the Georgia Bulldogs is horrible.
Spread last year was 22.
Wow, there you go. Again, the non-conference schedule, Tennessee Martin, Ball State, UAB, Georgia Tech. Translation, Georgia can almost punch their ticket to the SEC championship game. It's going to come down to 3 games because they get South Carolina at home, they get Kentucky at home. You would think the Gamecocks and the Wildcats are not going to go in there and win. So, at Auburn, at Tennessee, Florida, and Jacksonville. That, to me, is really the Georgia Bulldogs schedule. 641-1010 is the phone number on the phone line and on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures. I know we've done a lot of NFL draft as of late, but I do realize the spring games are on the horizon, so I was happy to bring you a little college football here in hour number 1 on Hacker After Dark. I will update you on a couple of things. The Tampa Bay Rays on an 11-game winning streak to start the year. They're in the top of the 7th down in Tampa. Rays are up 8-4 on the Boston Red Sox. Red Sox do have something going here, 2nd and 3rd, with 1 out in the top of the 7th, but the Rays up 8-4, looking to get to 12-0. The record is 13-0. The Rays are a win tonight and a win tomorrow afternoon from tying what is about a 100-plus-year-old Major League record to start a year with 13 consecutive victories. The last team to do it, I believe, was the Milwaukee Brewers back in 1987. Started the year 13-0. The Rays are 11-0, and in game number 12, they have a 4-run lead on Boston in the 7th inning. We will keep you updated. Also, the NBA play-in tournament. Boy, that was fun last night. If you stayed up to watch Minnesota and the Lakers. Tonight, it's a little different because it's win or go home. You got 2 games where the winner's season continues. The loser's season is over. Right now, Toronto up 68-52 on Chicago, which is absolutely terrific news for me being an Orlando Magic fan because the Magic own the Chicago Bulls' first-round pick. but the Raptors up 15 currently midway through the third quarter. The winner of that game advances to Friday night, where they will travel to Miami, and the last playoff spot in the East will be decided. Coming up next, back into the world of the National Football League, we'll do a little NFL draft. We'll do a little AFC South talk. That's next. Wednesday night edition, Hacker After Dark, here in the city of Jacksonville on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
The future is looking better.
The future's so bright, I gotta wear shades. I gotta wear shades.
The home of Jaguars fans. 1010XL.
Mia here, and this spring you might be wondering, why is the sky blue? How do flowers grow? And the biggest question of all, why buy from Arlington Toyota? I'll tell you why. First, peace of mind. Buy any new Toyota from Arlington and their lifetime warranty goes with you. That's unlimited time and unlimited miles. Plus, there's Arlington's 30-day exchange program. It's 30 days to love your new purchase or exchange it. You even get complimentary car wash with your service visit. Now you know why you should buy from Arlington. 10939 Atlantic Boulevard and online at arlingtontoyota.com.
Now is the perfect time to make sure your home is protected from storms by scheduling a complimentary roof inspection with Universal Roof and Contracting. Protect your biggest investment, your home. Get a free wind mitigation with your full roof replacement plus a free Platinum Protection Warranty upgrade. This offer expires April 30th and restrictions apply. Universal Roof and Contracting, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. License number CCC 1230147, CBC 1258484.
UniversalRoof.com.
If you're often tired, have trouble exercising, or your heartbeat feels irregular, you might have atrial fibrillation, or AFib. Left untreated, AFib can put a strain on your heart and increase your risk of a stroke. But the new Heart Rhythm Center at Baptist Health can help. With the latest treatment options for heart disorders like AFib, our team of specialists can get you feeling stronger again. Learn more at baptistjacks.com/AFib or call 904-202-2342.
We want people to feel that when they call Harlan Herald, they're calling Harlan Herald. They're not calling a satellite office or call center or getting an automated phone system. We are with our clients, fighting for our clients, handling the process ourselves, and not asking others to do that for us. I mean, we feel like we made the right decision to be the size that we are, large enough to take on anyone, but small enough to care and really know our clients. Offices, Jacksonville.
It's a Monday morning must. What's that smell? Tony Baselli, Dan Hicken, and Jeff Prosser. You smell something?
Breakfast with Baselli.
Smells super. Brought to you by Epstein & Robbins DUI Defense Firm. Monday morning on 1010XL.
Hicken here. If you're looking for a winning team to clean your carpets and tile, Zero Res, #1 in the country for customer satisfaction, and they were named Franchise of the Year. No surprise to me, I've had Zero Res clean my home for years, and man, there's nothing better than coming home to a clean house by Zero Res. The smell, the look, it's awesome. Right now, get 2 rooms of carpet cleaning the staircase for $148. Savings of $30. Remember, folks, Zero Res, spell it forwards or backwards. It's the right way to clean.
Zero Res.
Are you looking for increased privacy and protection for your family and pets? Look no further than Superior Fence and Rail. Superior Fence and Rail is Jacksonville's top-rated fence company, delivering the highest quality fence products. They'll treat your property as if it's their own. So get off the fence and get your privacy back. Call Superior Fence and Rail today for your on-site estimates.
When you're on the fence, about a fence, SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
Hey guys, I'm Daniel Heilman from the brand new Fourscore Golf Tavern. We do elevated food, drinks, and golf simulator fun. If you're looking for a delicious meal or maybe a spot for a client, we have lunch specials every day. Need to entertain a few people from out of town? Easy. Just reserve one of our 4 simulator bays. Lunch service starts at 11 a.m. daily. Located in San Marcos Square, we'll see you at lunch at Fourscore Golf Tavern.
There's a world of difference between and that's why you can trust Famous Automotive and Tire when it comes to your vehicle's care. Because there's a difference between and. It all starts with the triangle of safety. Your tires, brakes, and the front end. Take care of those 3 points and your car will take good care of you. Start at Famous Automotive and Tires, 7 locations servicing every customer like they're famous.
Hi, I'm Sean Monahan from Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach. Monahan Jewelers is your local family jeweler for 44 years with a huge selection of GIA certified diamonds, gold, fine gemstone and diamond jewelry, and designer brands from all over the world. With our interest-free financing, we make it easy to acquire the perfect gift. Monahan Jewelers also specializes in custom jewelry design with thousands of customers all across Jacksonville. Come experience our beautiful selection of fine jewelry at your local family jeweler, Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
Instant Keys specializes in replacement of lost, stolen, or broken keys and remotes. Serving the First Coast for over 20 years, Instant Keys provides expert service for nearly every foreign and domestic vehicle, including most luxury models. So don't be intimidated by today's high-tech automotive keys. At Instant Keys, you get dealership-level service at a fraction of the time and cost without the dealership hassle. For honest, professional locksmith service, call Instant Keys today, 722-1111.
This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. This is Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Yes, it is. Glad you're with us till 10 o'clock. As always, we are streaming for your viewing pleasure on YouTube and on Twitter when you get home tonight. If you're going out to dinner, what have you, just go to 1010XL on Twitter. You'll see the show there till 10 o'clock tonight. Likewise on YouTube. Just search 1010XL. You'll see Hacker After Dark there until 10 o'clock this evening. The Boston Red Sox did just hit a 3-run homer. They have now gone to the bottom of the 7th in Tampa. Rays holding on to an 8-7 lead. Again, looking to extend their winning streak to 12 games to begin the year. We will keep you updated. To the National Football League we go in one moment. Before we get there, 641-1010 is the phone number if you want to get involved. Dean is on Hacker After Dark, wants to talk a little college football. Dean, how you doing?
Great, Hacker. I love your show. It's a great form in the evening you do.
Thank you, Dean. I appreciate it, man. What's on your mind tonight?
I just wanted to, I was lucky enough last week to attend the Napier visit to Clay County. The Clay County Glader Cubs did a great job, as always, getting coach here. And he was just talking, about, positive spin with the Gators, how 2023 is going to be. But how much do you think the coaches set themselves up when they took these big salaries years ago as far as winning and the pressure to win? Because I think really with all the constraints and, with college football, there's not constraints now, but kind of the portals and things like that, it's tougher to win than ever, though. And then, the money these guys are commanding, and one of the things he talked about was life-work balance for the assistant coaches. But don't you think money's kind of taken over college football?
Dean, appreciate it. Money is absolutely taken over college football, both in the coaching salaries and in the world of NIL. I mean, just look at what happened to Florida this offseason. They think they land a 5-star quarterback in Jaden Rashada. They get a signature on a letter of intent from Jaden Rashada, and an NIL situation fell through. He got angry. His people got angry. Whatever happened, he asks out of his signed letter of intent. Money has absolutely taken over the game. But the thing with Billy Napier, just like it is with every coach in the Southeastern Conference and most coaches at the Power 5 level in the world of college football, you know what you're signing up for, right? It's not lost on Billy Napier that let's think about this from a Gator perspective, all right? Let's go down memory lane. Steve Spurrier left in, 2002 was his last year, and he was there from 90 to 02. Since Steve Spurrier left, you've had Ron Zook, right? You had Urban Meyer. That's 2. You had Will Muschamp. That's 3. You had Jim McElwain. That's 4. You had Dan Mullen. That's 5. And now you got Billy Napier, and that's 6. You have had 6 head coaches for the University of Florida in the last 20 years, right? So let me do my Wolfson math on that. You're averaging just over 3 years as a Gator football coach. And there is pressure at these jobs. There is expectation. Now, I think some Gator fans, probably some of you listening, quite frankly, have unrealistic expectations. I understand that you wish that you were Alabama, you wish you were Georgia, you wish that it was still the era of Tim Tebow and the Pouncey twins and Brandon Spikes and, go back even further than that to the fun and gun with Spurrier in the mid to late 90s. That's not the reality of the situation right now. The reality is Florida fell behind in recruiting. The reality is Florida fell behind in facilities. For whatever reason, those things happened. And it has taken Florida a long time to try to get out of it. And they're still nowhere near getting out of it. I mean, if you look in the SEC coming into 2023, and you were just to take a quick poll, who are the best teams coming in? Well, you throw out there Georgia, right? Then you throw out there Alabama. Then I think LSU would be involved in the conversation. Then probably Tennessee. And we saw how long it took Tennessee to get back up. They were on the canvas for a long time. But that's 4 teams without even thinking about it that you would have higher than Florida. And then I would have, an Ole Miss probably higher than Florida. Is South Carolina higher than Florida? I don't know. Florida beat them last year, but South Carolina ended the season by beating Clemson and Tennessee. So the Gators are middle of the pack right now in the conference, and they're trying to work their way out of it, but it's a long battle. Just ask the Tennessee Volunteers, ask the Nebraska Cornhuskers, ask the Texas Longhorns. It takes a while to get out of it once you fall into it, and the Gators certainly fell into it really after the departure of Urban Meyer. 641-1010 is the phone number. To the NFL we go. We're going to head to Nashville coming up in about 10 minutes. Tyler Rowland, the Locked On Titans podcast. You can also read his work at alltitans.com. I want to talk Tennessee, and I want to talk Indianapolis. We're going to go to Indy tomorrow night and talk with our guy James Boyd up there at The Athletic. The Anthony Richardson stuff when it comes to Tennessee and Indy, how real is that? And just take a look, because clearly the Texans are still in rebuild, right? We'll probably go to Houston next week and get one of our guys on out there. But from a Jaguar point of view, it appears the 2 biggest competitors for Jacksonville in the AFC South for 2023 are going to be Tennessee and Indianapolis. So we're going to kind of do off-season reviews, little draft previews. We'll begin that tonight in Nashville. Tyler Rowland, the host of the Locked On Titans podcast, he comes up in about 10 minutes. I found this interesting on ESPN.com earlier today. Matt Miller, who has been covering the draft for a long time, does a great job covering the NFL draft, and he's with ESPN now. He gives grades, right? He watches tape, film. It's what he does every day. And he graded 368 prospects heading into the draft at the end of this month. Now, keep in mind, folks, only about 255 guys are going to get drafted. Miller looked at 368 prospects. 100 of these guys, 100 plus, won't even be drafted in 2 weeks. But what I found interesting about it is where he has some of the guys that have been linked to Jacksonville. And all he gave was a grade. On a scale of 99 to, I believe he went down to the 60s. No rhyme or reason, just his thoughts, a number grade on all of them. His top 5, Will Anderson is number 1. From Alabama, the defensive end / outside linebacker. Bryce Young at 2. Robinson, the running back from Texas, is number 3. That's interesting. C.J. Stroud at 4. And JSN, Jackson Smith. Go ahead, Denmark. Help me out there.
Njigba
from Ohio State at number 5. He has Jalen Carter at Georgia 6. Deion Witherspoon, people seem to love him. The corner from Illinois at 7. Tyree Wilson, the defensive end from Texas Tech at 8. Wilson was actually in for a visit with the Jaguars this week. And then you get down to Broderick Jones of Georgia's 11, so on and so forth. Anthony Richardson on this list, for those of you wondering, is number 16. Now, obviously teams have needs. Quarterback is a priority. But here's a guy that covers the draft every day. It's what he does. He has Anthony Richardson as the 16th best prospect in the draft. The Jaguars picked 24th. Let me tell you who he has around the 24th spot. He's got wide receiver Zay Flowers of Boston College at 23. Jordan Addison, the wide receiver from Southern Cal, at 24. And he's got Will Levis, the quarterback from Kentucky, as his 25th best player. By the way, a couple of Tennessee Volunteers follow him, Jalen Hyatt, Hendon Hooker. A lot of Jaguar fans love the idea of Brian Branch from Alabama. Matt Miller's got him at number 28. The one thing that jumped out to me, and I mentioned this earlier this week, Kelee Ringo, the corner from Georgia. I've had too many people on this program over the last few weeks and months that do not like Kelee Ringo for whatever reason. I've had too many people tell me the Jaguars should not take him at 24, and I've had a couple of people tell me that he's comparable to C.J. Henderson. And that's all I need to know. Anybody comparable to C.J. Henderson here in Jacksonville, whether that's accurate or not, just the thought of that would lead me away from them if I was the Jaguars. Matt Miller has Kelee Ringo as the 56th best player in this draft. You see him at 24 to the Jaguars a lot. I side with Matt Miller on this. Ringo is his 56th best player. I would stay away from him. Again, I'm not a draft guru. I like to know that I think I know a thing or two. I'd like to think I know a thing or two about the draft. But I have had more than 5 people on our show over the last weeks and months tell me they do not like Kelee Ringo for whatever reason. Matt Miller obviously agrees with them as he has Ringo all the way down in the late 50s as an overall prospect. What about Anthony Richardson to Nashville? What about the Tennessee Titans and Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill, Arden Key, now a Tennessee Titan? Let's check in on our brethren in the AFC South up in Nashville, Tyler Rowland, the host of the Locked On Titans podcast. You can also read his work at alltitans.com. He's next. It's a Wednesday night edition of Hacker After Dark with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Oh, childish, immature, and selfish, that's right, I am.
Dan Hicken.
Do you know how much money I make for thinking this way?
Jeff Prosser.
My hobbies are fast cars and fast women.
They are the drill.
Can you be any more dramatic?
Mornings on 1010XL.
Here's Linda Beaver.
Did you hear what's happening? Beaver Toyota and Beaver Chevrolet are spring cleaning. New inventory on the ground means the old has to go. Take advantage of the lowest prices of the new year by saving thousands on thousands of vehicles priced to sell. New and pre-owned prices have been reduced, and all sales associates have been instructed to give maximum value on all trades. But you better hurry. That's right. Best deals go first. Head to Beaver Toyota in St. Augustine or Beaver Chevrolet in Jacksonville to take advantage of the spring cleaning sale. We're here to wow you.
Hey Jacksonville, I'm sure by now you've seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We are an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We are committed to customer service, reliability, and have unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today. GFL, green for life.
It's the Guggen Open.
What's going to happen?
Listen to the drill with Jeff and Dan for a chance for you and a partner to play in this year's Coastal Equipment Guggen Golf Open, April 17th at Hidden Hills Golf Club. Score a hole-in-one, and you could win an all-new redesigned 2023 Honda Pilot from Lucas Honda.
Did you see that?
Yes, nice shot.
Sample meats from Southern Steer Butchers.
That smells good. What is that?
Thanks to our sponsors, Taco Lou, the Borland Groover Foundation, Instant Keys, and Southern Oak Insurance.
WJXL FM, Jacksonville Beach.
Don't ignore plumbing leaks. They can lead to mold and mildew or structural damage and drain your wallet. So when you have a leak and can't wait a week, call Roland Reich Plumbing. PlumbingJacksonville.com.
Hey, it's Carline here, and let's talk of getting rid of pain with QC Kinetics. Get lasting relief from joint pain without surgery or drugs. QC Kinetics has clinics in Ponte Vedra and in Mandarin on San Jose. Call 904-274-5522. They've taken it to a whole new level with new medical director, Dr. Peter Atch, a renowned triple board certified doctor with decades of experience. Look, if you're tired of living with pain in your back, hips, shoulders, knees. Don't let anyone tell you surgery is your only option. Call QC Kinetics for a free consultation. Call 904-274-5522. Learn how advanced regenerative medicine can get you real relief. Don't go under the knife. Don't deal with downtime. QC Kinetics takes the healing properties from your own body, concentrates them, and puts them into your affected joint to repair and restore the damaged tissue. QC Kinetics. Call 904-274-5522.
I'm Jeff Middlecoff with Trustline Mortgage. My business partners, Alan Tyre, Bill Pappas, and Ken Rimley, have been helping clients all over Florida with their construction perm loans for 34 years. Construction perm loans are not easy to find because a lot of banks and credit unions don't understand them, and therefore they don't like to do them. Well, your problem is solved. Trustline Mortgage wants to help you build your dream home. Our construction perm loans are single close, so you save money by not having to close twice, like with other lenders. Some of our construction perm loans allow you to lock in your interest rate up front. And if interest rates go down, we'll give you the better rate. We offer up to 100% VA loans, up to 96.5% for FHA loans, and up to 95% for conventional loans. Call Trustline Mortgage today at 381-LOAN. That's 381-LOAN to find out how we can help you build your dream home. Or visit our website at trustlinemortgage.com. Trust your instincts and follow the line to Trustline Mortgage.
Certain restrictions apply. See office for details. Trustline is an equal housing lender. MLS number 331480.
I was on the go. It was time to eat. I said, baby, grab a Danny, cause they can't be beat. She got something else when it was time to choose. And after just one bite, I got that soggy sandwich blue. Should've known better, only Danny will do. Got that hometown flavor creeping up on you. Yeah.
Jacksonville has some junk, and J-Dog is removing it. They're here to do the dirty work. You don't want to remove and dispose of large furniture or appliances yourself? Call J-Dog. Here now, proudly serving you, removing junk from your home or business. They can even handle small demolition projects, and they're still donating local items to veterans in need. So let J-Dog do the dirty work for you. J-Dog Junk Removal. Veteran-owned and operated. JDog.com.
April is Head and Neck Cancer Awareness Month. If caught early, this disease can be treated effectively. So take control of your health with the experts at Ackerman Cancer Center. Don't delay. Get screened for any symptoms. Visit AckermanCancerCenter.com.
This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL. Now, another interview on the Farah and Farah phone line. Brought to you by the accident attorneys at Farah and Farah.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Just over 2 weeks away from the National Football League draft. Boy, the offseason just flying by. In fact, the Jacksonville Jaguars report to work for offseason conditioning beginning next Monday, April the 17th. That is hard to believe. They've had an interesting offseason also in Nashville. Our AFC South brethren, the Tennessee Titans, including former Jaguar Arden Key among their acquisitions. Let's go to Nashville. My friend Tyler Rowland, you hear him as the host of the Locked On Titans podcast. You can also read him at alltitans.com, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Tyler, how you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic, and yeah, the off season is moving quick, but the quicker it moves, the quicker we get to the ball games in the fall. So I don't want to skip over summer completely, but as a football junkie, I'm happy things are moving quick, and I'm ready for this draft.
Yeah, I hear you. I got a couple of vacations coming up, but I am very, very excited after those vacations end about getting down for OTAs, for mini camps and training camp here in about 3 months' time. All right, the Titans offseason. You and I talked prior to free agency. At that point, Tennessee was cutting a lot of veterans. They brought in a lot of free agents, Tyler. I guess I would summarize it as guys that needed to be given an opportunity, like an Arden Key. From your perspective in covering the team, how would you assess Tennessee's offseason so far?
I think they've just taken a lot of low-risk moves that could pan out. So when you had a lot of high-priced veterans who had been getting hurt, like Taylor Lewan, like Bud Dupree, you want to replace them because I don't think the Titans are I know that it does seem like a team that could potentially take a turn to tanking and go into a full rebuild, but I just don't think that's in Mike Vrabel's DNA, and I don't think that's why the new general manager, Rand Carthon, was brought in. I think that the Titans want to try to retool and compete, and while some of their what I would call Band-Aid signings with low-risk money for veterans who maybe didn't have quite the opportunity elsewhere. I mean, Andre Dillard at left tackle was a perfect example. He was the first signing that the Titans made. They gave him a 3-year deal worth $29 million, but you dig into the details, it's really a 2-year deal that they could get out of after 1 year if they needed to. But he was a guy, former first-round pick in 2019, was on the bench, but the top utility offensive lineman in Philadelphia, who has probably the best offensive line in the NFL. And the Titans are going to give him a chance and say, hey, you know, you were behind a lot of really good players in Philadelphia, but maybe you're good enough to be a starter yourself. They didn't commit too much money long term, so they can get out of it. But there's low risk, there's high reward. If Dillard pays off, the Titans could have found them a cheap option to be a starting left tackle for a few years. So all of their signings, maybe a little less, you know, financial payment than what Dillard got. All of them are a little less 1-year deals, 2-year deals, like with Arden Key. But basically the whole thought process is taking guys who have had limited opportunities elsewhere but done well and seeing if they can do even better as a starter in their defense. So the Titans are trying to find ways where they don't commit long-term financial money to guys they're not certain of, but still get enough talent and get NFL players who can come in and help the team get wins next season.
Yeah, I had a chance to interview Andre Dillard at the Senior Bowl in Mobile when he was out there, and I was impressed with him then, and it didn't work out in Philadelphia. We'll see what happens there with the Titans. To Arden Key, he had that introductory press conference in Nashville that I think rubbed some people here the wrong way with some of the things that he said. I mean, at the end of the day, Tyler, he had 4.5 sacks and 15 quarterback hits. I mean, the Jaguars didn't exactly lose Reggie White. Having said that, though, he does go to the division rival. How was that signing viewed, and how will Arden Key be used up there in Nashville?
Well, you know, anytime you get a guy who literally built a city from the ground up and plays football, you got to be happy about. No, that definitely was.
Tyler, I'm just happy I drove to work tonight on the roadways that Arden Key helped build. Absolutely.
Yeah, the infrastructure. I mean, his engineering skills. I'm just hoping that his ability to get to the quarterback translates as well. I think what's key for Arden Key, no pun intended there, is to keep him in the role that he's been successful in the last few years. So Arden Key really turned his career around with San Francisco, which the Titans' new general manager, Rand Carthon, came from a position at San Francisco, so there's the connection there. But as a rotational player in San Francisco and then in Jacksonville, last year, Arden Key was able to keep that energy. He's got such high energy, such high intensity. You know, he never gives up on a play. He's always tracking guys down. I think the best way to keep him in that role is to not elevate him to a starter and ask him to play starter-level snaps throughout the game. The Titans should be getting Harold Landry back after an ACL tear before the season last year. Because that injury happened before the year, hopes are that, you know, Landry will be back to 100% a year later. On the other side, you'll probably see a combination of Key, a combination of Rashad Weaver, who will be going into his 3rd year out of Pitt, a big physical edge rusher. So I think the Titans are looking to have a rotation there, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to take Key out of the role that has made him, you know, find his way in the NFL as a rotational guy, to keep that energy high, keep his stamina high. I think it would be important to keep him in a rotation. But I do want to say about Key, last year in the last month of the season, he was 2nd in the NFL in quarterback pressures behind only Nick Bosa. So Key definitely has the ability to go out there and make a difference. But I think the Titans would be unwise if they try to push him up into a starter role immediately and give him a bunch of snaps throughout a game. So I think he does have the ability to make a big impact, as people in Jacksonville have seen, but I don't see Key as like a starting edge rusher that's out on the field every play. I think he needs to be part of a rotation, but in that role, he can definitely contribute and get the Titans pass rush back to where it's supposed to be. He's more of a replacement for Bud Dupree, and I would rather pay Arden Key $7 million a year than pay Bud Dupree $20 million.
Tyler Rowland is the host of the Locked On Titans podcast. You can also read him at alltitans.com. Tyler, I haven't talked to you as well since a lot of guys left Nashville, from DeMarcus Walker to David Long to Nate Davis to Austin Hooper among them that left. Any surprises for you there that the Titans were not able to re-sign some of those guys?
Well, I got to tell you, I am a bit surprised that they let David Long, the linebacker, go. He ended up signing with the Miami Dolphins for about $5 million per season. I always thought it was kind of strange. You look at the contract estimations on Pro Football Focus or SpotTrack.com and things like that. And I think it was Pro Football Focus who had David Long getting $13 million a season. And I always thought that was completely asinine. He's not one of the best linebackers in the NFL, bar none. But when he's healthy, he's an absolute buzzsaw on a defense. He's a little undersized, but he'll fly around and be aggressive. I just thought that he did everything that the Titans wanted him to do, and no, he wasn't healthy all the time, and that's the big knock on him. But at only $5 million, and the Dolphins only really gave him about 1 year's worth of money when you look into the guarantees. I thought the Titans should have brought him back and see if he could stay healthy for another year at that price range. I think he's a better player than Azeez Al-Shir, who the Titans signed from the 49ers to kind of replace him. So I was a bit surprised they let him go. But overall, I mean, Nate Davis at guard for $10 million. Austin Hooper is a good player. I don't think that he's a bad player in any way, and he filled his role admirably for the Titans. But they have second-year tight end Chig Okonkwo, and he's going to be taking that role from Hooper. So I'm okay with letting him go. It's really just David Long, I thought, for the price that he got paid, even with the injury concerns that the Titans are worried about, they could have brought him back and kept him in the middle of the defense and paired him with Azeez Al-Shir, because the Titans linebacker group right now is a little bit of a concern to me with only Monty Rice with Al-Shir, and Monty Rice is going to be a third-year player out of Georgia who's had some injury concerns as well. So I think that they probably could have kept David Long around, but Mike Vrabel did call him out at the end of the season as a soft tissue injury repeater guy, and kind of made it seem like it was David Long's fault that he was getting injured and having issues with his hamstring. So I guess with that in mind, it makes sense. But for the price he got paid, that's the one departure that I think the Titans probably could have kept him around.
All right, Tyler, we're about 2 weeks away, 2 weeks and change away from the draft. And all the talk, at least that we're hearing, is that Tennessee is sniffing around these quarterbacks. Potentially, you see a lot of mock drafts where they're trying to move up into that 3 spot with Arizona. Now, while all this is happening, of course, Ryan Tannehill is still on the Tennessee Titans roster. So here we are, 2 weeks out from the draft. You follow it as close as anybody. What's going to happen over the next 2 weeks at the quarterback position in Nashville?
Well, I think it depends on what happens with the first 2 picks in the draft. We're starting to get some whispers that if Bryce Young goes number 1 overall to Carolina, the Texans may go ahead and take Will Anderson, a defensive player out of Alabama, and pass on taking quarterback. I think that would be a major mistake by the Texans, but a mistake that would allow the Titans to capitalize. The Arizona Cardinals are sitting at number 3 right now, and their new general manager is Monty Ossenfort, who is a former executive for the Titans and just got hired away from Tennessee by Arizona. So there's a natural, connection there between the 2 teams and between the organizations. And I think that if C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young is available at number 3, the Titans will pounce and go up and get him. And with Ryan Tannehill, it would give them the ability, with Stroud or Young, it would give them the ability to release Ryan Tannehill or trade Ryan Tannehill potentially to a team like the Commanders, to a team like maybe the Buccaneers wouldn't do it because they now have Baker Mayfield, but injuries happen as well. So I think if you get a Stroud or a Young at number 3 with a trade up, which I would be in favor of for the Titans, give them a pick number 11, a mid-round pick, a 2024 first, and a 2025 first. And I know that that's a lot to pay, but the Titans are set to have $100 million in cap space the next 2 years because they simply haven't hit on any first-round picks in a long time. So with the cap space the Titans would have, I think that would allow them to give up the draft capital because they could still build their team through free agency without a first-round pick in those years. But really the problem becomes if Stroud and Young go 1 and 2, which is my expectation. I don't see how those 2 teams up front could pass on those 2 guys. If those guys go 1 and 2, then it gets a little curious for the Titans because I think with Richardson, you would have to let him sit behind Tannehill for a year. I think he needs a little bit of development there at the NFL level. And then you couldn't get rid of Ryan Tannehill. And now your first-round pick isn't helping you win games whatsoever next year. In a year where Derrick Henry's on the last year of his contract, Ryan Tannehill's on the last year of his contract. The Titans, if they want to stick with Tannehill and Henry for 1 more year, they need to go all in and try to help those guys be as best as possible and use that first-round pick on a position player on the offensive line, on defense, at wide receiver, who can help them. But if they don't do that and they trade up for Richardson, I think that would be a dangerous move, and I don't think I'd be in favor of doing that. Now, if they can sit and pick at 11 and Richardson falls to them, I would consider doing that because that's less risk. You haven't paid as much to do it, and it makes a little bit more sense. Me personally, I'm out on Will Levis. I hope the Titans are hosting Will Levis on a top 30 visit this week, and I got to say it makes me a little nervous as a guy who's not a big fan of Levis and his turnover potential. But I think if the Titans sit at number 11 and Richardson is there, they should go ahead and do it. But at the end of the day, what I want, what I hope for, doesn't really matter. What matters most is what's going on inside that building. And they are clearly doing their homework on all four of these quarterback prospects, have met with them, have talked with them. So regardless of what they say about Ryan Tannehill being on the roster and all that, they are clearly looking at their options. And I think if the Titans get in the right spot and the right guy is available, they will pounce and make a play for him.
Final moments here with Tyler Rowland, the host of the Locked On Titans podcast. Tyler, have they given up on Malik Willis?
You know, a lot of people in Tennessee got upset with me when I said this before the Dallas Cowboys game. But I'm sorry, if you have a rookie quarterback who needs development, needs reps, you're in the middle of a massive losing streak in a division that, you know, whatever, if you win it or not, I think the Titans are in a better position because they didn't win the division with the state of their team. Malik Willis was primed to get those reps at the end of the season. And I hate what people say, you know, he was a rookie. You shouldn't be a rookie still by the end of the season. You've been through training camp. You've been through mini camps. You've been through the season. Malik Willis got starts in the middle of the year against Houston the first time, against Kansas City. He should be more developed at the end of the season than he was at the beginning. My grading scale for him in the preseason isn't the same grading scale I have for him in week 17 of the NFL season. You should have progressed a little bit, and he simply didn't. And to lose his opportunity to get those valuable reps and to, you know, get that opportunity to progress as a player, to lose those reps to Josh Dobbs, who was signed off the street 8 days before that, and have Dobbs simply, you know, look 10 times better than Willis could even hope to have looked. I mean, it's hard not to lose faith, and in my opinion, that was the moment where Mike Vrabel did lose faith in Malik Willis. I feel bad because everybody said he needed a redshirt year, but here's how I quantify it. If, you know, Trevor Lawrence is an 8 out of 10 as a quarterback, and you got to be a 6 out of 10 at minimum to be a starter, and, you know, Patrick Mahomes a 10 out of 10, whatever you want to do it there, Malik Willis was a 1. And I don't know how many years it would take to get him to a 6 so that he could even be a low-level starter. I just think it would take too much. He needs development, but I'm not certain that even if he develops to the best version of himself, I don't think that version of him is a quarterback in the NFL. So I think Mike Vrabel has given up on Malik Willis. I think all the quarterback work that the Titans are doing this year shows us that they've given up on Malik Willis. And I think it's hard to watch his tape from last year, even knowing that he needed a year of development. He needs the development, but he's starting at such a low place that I don't know that any development that's available could get him to an NFL starting level quarterback.
Tyler, we're out of time. 60 seconds left. Jeffrey Simmons got huge money in Nashville last week. We know Derrick Henry's still on the roster. Ryan Tannehill's still on the roster, at least at the time you and I are speaking. So this is not a rebuild, right? I mean, they're gonna try to be competitive in 2023.
Yeah, 100%. It's just not in the DNA of Mike Vrabel, Amy Adams-Strunk, the owner. The new general manager, Rand Carthon, doesn't want to come in and tank or anything like that. They are going to try to be competitive. The big thing about the Jeffrey Simmons extension is it restores faith in the organization. You can't trade A.J. Brown away and then lose Jeffrey Simmons in back-to-back off seasons and be taken serious by your fans or anybody around the NFL. So more than anything, securing a great player, but restoring faith that the Titans organization is going to do the right things was the big takeaway from the Jeffrey Simmons signing.
He's our guy up in Nashville, Tyler Rowland, host of the Locked On Titans podcast. You can also read his work at alltitans.com. Tyler, enjoy the draft, man. We'll talk afterwards. We'll see how Tennessee fared. Thank you, my friend.
Not a problem. It's going to be a big one. Thanks.
He's big.
What kind of monster are you?
And he's big on the Jags.
3 times bigger than this.
Mike Dempsey.
What do you think? Well, what do you know?
10 to noon weekdays.
A lot smarter than I look.
On 1010XL.
Are you suffering from shoulder pain? If you have clicking and popping in the shoulder joint, persistent pain that intensifies with use, an inability to lift your arm over your head, or a tingling, burning sensation in the shoulder, elbow, or wrist, waiting to see a doctor could make your injury worse. Baptist Health and Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute have innovative and effective treatment options available right now to relieve your pain and restore your mobility. Don't wait. Call 904-JOI-2000.
Hey Jacksonville, this is Crystal, COO with Remedy Staffing. As employers, labor trends continue to keep us guessing. Is the job market strong? And what is worker availability going to look like? Well, February's BLS job report indicated that we have a hot job market and that Jacksonville's unemployment rate is 2.5%, 1% lower than our national average. So if you are interested in workforce solutions and how our team can help you, please call or text me at 904-329-9802.
Tobacco-Free Florida knows how hard it is to quit nicotine, which is why we offer different quit options to choose from for free, like 24/7 quit coaches available over the phone and free 2-week starter kits of quit aids. We're even experimenting with 80s pop music.
I'm giving you up, giving you up, giving you up. I'm letting you go, I'm letting you never come back to smoke. I'll never come back to smoke. I'll never come back. I'm giving you up.
Or maybe we'll just stick to the ways we know work. Visit tobaccofreeflorida.com or call 1-877-YOU-CAN-NOW for free nicotine patches.
Here's your 1010XL First Coast Community Calendar.
Dreams Come True is a local wish-granting organization giving dreams and special times to local children battling life-threatening illnesses. Find out how you can help at dreamscometrue.org.
The Wounded Warrior Project provides what medicine and technology can't: community, counseling, and a second chance. Find ways to help at woundedwarriorproject.org.
If you're between ages 16 and 24, you can learn a career in construction, electrical, plumbing, or masonry with free training from the AMI Kids Florida Registered Pre-Apprenticeship Program. Call 576-7337.
There's a critical need for all blood types. Please consider donating at a local blood donation center.
If you could benefit from a grief and loss support group, call Haven Hospice at 279-1677.
If you're involved in a community event and you'd like us to help spread the word, find out how at 1010XL.com.
Come to Bowden Eye for all your eye care needs. Hicken here. Did you know that dry eye disease affects up to 60 million Americans? Dry eye disease is known to progress. Dry eye disease is one of the most common but least diagnosed eye conditions doctors see in their patients. Many of us who have dry eye may not even feel it. At Bowden Eye and Associates, visit today for your personal consultation. Keeping the First Coast focused. Bowden Eye and Associates. New location now open off County Road 210 in St. Johns County.
Follow the rise of the young Jags and daily discussion about where they're headed.
We could be part of it.
Jaguars Today.
From the Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute studios.
With Mike Dempsey, Fat Tony, and E.T. every weekday from 10 to noon on 1010XL.
It's the home opener for the Jacksonville Sharks this Saturday, April 15th at 7 o'clock at the VyStar Arena. Cheer the Sharks to victory over the San Antonio Gunslingers.
Hey, it's Sharks head coach Jason Gibson, and this week join us as we take on the San Antonio Gunslingers. The Gunslingers will bring in a high-powered attack, but teams will find out fast how hard it is to play in the Shark Tank.
It's family affordable fun with tickets as low as $15. Call 621-0700 or go to jacksharks.com. Fins up.
The IRS has just received $80 billion in funding to hire additional agents for aggressive collections enforcement. If you owe the IRS, now is the time to take action before the IRS comes after you or your business. There's no time to waste. Call J. David Tax Law, a firm right here in Jacksonville, for a no-cost consultation at 904-507-4777. That's 904-507-4777. Or visit jdavidtaxlaw.com. Peace of mind is only a click or phone call away.
Denny Thompson here. Tyson Sound and Security is hiring salespeople right now. If you want to sell new tech security cameras or home automation, Tyson Sound and Security is looking for you. Tyson Sound and Security is hiring for sales positions, and they will train you to be successful. Apply online at TysonSoundandSecurity.com or call 762-1000. That's 762-1000. Hiring for sales positions right now. Apply online at TysonSoundandSecurity.com or call 762-1000. Equal opportunity employer.
Does your home or building need painting? For over 20 years, Performance Painting has had the privilege of preserving many of Jacksonville's most prominent buildings. That said, we feel like we're just getting started. I'm Jason Parker, and our team thrives on preparing, protecting, and preserving the homes, businesses, and public buildings that make up our local landscape. Contact us today to put our years of experience to work for you. Performance Painting, prepare, protect, preserve.
Performance Painting.
This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Thank you to Tyler Rowland, the Locked On Titans podcast, for joining us tonight. Coming up in less than 10 minutes, RJ Anderson, CBSSports.com, talking a little Major League Baseball. 2 weeks into the year, the Tampa Bay Rays have just won their 12th consecutive game as they defeat the Boston Red Sox tonight 9-7. A win tomorrow afternoon for Tampa would not only cap off a 4-game sweep of the Boston Red Sox, but it would tie the longest winning streak to begin a Major League Baseball season, I believe, since they've been keeping records. I mean, you have to go back 100-plus years. It was 13 games, or it is 13 games. A couple of teams did it. The last one was the 87 Milwaukee Brewers. Tampa Bay is now at 12-0 to start the year. And again, a win tomorrow against Boston would tie that record of 13 consecutive wins to begin a season. By the way, the play-in tournament going on as well in the NBA. As good as Minnesota and the Lakers were last night, we got a great one going on in Toronto right now. 3 minutes to go. This is an elimination game. This is win or go home. The loser's season is over. They are knotted up at 100 with 3 minutes to go in the game between the Bulls and the Raptors. The loser's season is over. The winner goes to Miami on Friday night, and the winner of that game will officially be the 8th seed in the Eastern Conference. Their reward for that, what is that? I believe Milwaukee is their reward for that, which isn't much of a reward, but that's where we are. But again, Chicago and Toronto tied up, 3 minutes to go. The winner advances to Miami to play in another winner-go-home situation Friday night. Coming up in just a bit, Oklahoma City, New Orleans in the West, same thing. The loser of that season is over. The winner advances to Minnesota on Friday night, where they will be in another win-or-go-home situation. But again, the big story in Major League Baseball tonight, the Tampa Bay Rays, now 12 wins in a row. They swept Detroit. They swept Washington. They swept Oakland. And they've taken 3 of the first 4 against the Boston Red Sox, and they will go to tie a Major League Baseball record tomorrow, trying to get their 13th win to start a season. RJ Anderson, CBSSports.com, covering the world of Major League Baseball. He's next. Let's talk Tampa. Let's talk Atlanta. Let's talk rule changes and everything going on in the first 2 weeks of the Major Leagues. RJ Anderson, CBS Sports, next on Hacker After Dark.
This is
1010XL.
We Are
Sports Radio. Jacksonville.
So I'm here with Danny Van Sickle, director of the Electrical Training Alliance. Danny, tell me about your program.
Hey, Rick, we're a 5-year electrical apprenticeship. Our students start out making over $30,000 a year, and right now graduate making over $80,000 a year, including benefits. There is no tuition and no student debt. You just have to apply and get accepted.
Did you say no tuition and no student debt?
You heard that right, Rick. Once you're accepted into the program, your only costs are the books and the course fees, around $700 a year.
Wow, that sounds like an amazing opportunity. How can I learn more?
Just go to etajax.org.
Apply by May 18th.
By now, you know that sound. It's the sound of the Home Depot.
But what about those sounds? Those are the sounds of a new kitchen package of state-of-the-art appliances with innovations to make everything from meal prep to cleanup easier. Making this the sound of savings on top brand appliances. Bring on spring with savings on select kitchen appliances in-store and online at the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
Keep your ball out of the rough with the Edwin Watts Golf Hour. Get great golf tips from the experts every Saturday morning at 10. The Edwin Watts Golf Hour on 1010XL.
Jacksonville is a great place to live. And if you love where you live, you should invest in it. That's why more and more people bank with One-to-One Financial, Jacksonville's hometown credit union. We invest every penny back into North Florida, backing the very best small businesses, nonprofits, and of course the family home. Why put your money with some big out-of-state bank when you can invest in where you love to live? One-to-One Financial. We're your hometown credit union. Sign up today at one-to-one-fcu.org. Federally insured by NCUA.
In sports, the grind outside the lines is what ultimately defines our success. Get the amateur's edge, powered by B3 Better, to learn the hidden path of top pros, amateurs, and coaches. Saturday mornings at 11 on 1010XL.
Instant Keys specializes in replacement of lost, stolen, or broken keys and remotes. Serving the First Coast for over 20 years, Instant Keys provides expert service for nearly every foreign and domestic vehicle, including most luxury models. So don't be intimidated by today's high-tech automotive keys. At Instant Keys, you get dealership-level service at a fraction of the time and cost without the dealership hassle. For honest, professional locksmith service, call Instant Keys today, 722-1111.
This is Hayes Carlion for Kingfish Pest Control, a local family-owned business that specializes in pest, termites, mosquito, and rodent prevention. I tell you what, when I got my new home, I had to put on my reporter's hat, find out who really is the best, and it turns out there's no competition. Kingfish provides exceptional service and treats me like a valued customer, not just an account. That's why I wholeheartedly recommend Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Okay, for this Cannons of Jacksonville commercial, we need an idea to really come out with a bang.
Like having a guy shot out of a cannon.
Nah, too messy. In fact, Cannons is known for all your towing needs.
So like my car won't start.
No. Towing products. Cannons does custom welding fabrication and installation of trailer hitches, goosenecks, tow bars, truck racks.
So you might say Cannons is my best shot at finding that inventory in stock?
Boom. You said it.
Visit cannonsofjacks.com.
Find your why in your next career move at the First Coast YMCA. Everyone can get involved and make a difference in your community at the Y. And if you'd like to turn your passion into a fulfilling career, the Y is an equal opportunity employer and is now hiring youth program leaders, lifeguards, swim instructors, and more. Plus, Y staff enjoy benefits including free YMCA membership and free childcare while you work. Find your passion, find your why in a career at fcymca.org.
Let's fire up the flavor and ignite those appetites. Let's slow down and smell the barbecue. Because all your favorites are smoked for hours and ready for eating when you are. From our famous ribs to slow smoked pork. Enjoy some perfection by the plateful, safely in our dining room or in the comfort of your home. With curbside pickup, drive-through, and delivery. Sonny's Barbecue. Local pitmasters since '68.
Hayes Carline here from my friends at Claude Nolan Cadillac. I was just there for my routine service. They have more new cars now than any time in the past 2 years. An increasing number of vehicles continue to be delivered. No worries on rates. They have fantastic rates right now. There's so much more than just pre-owned Cadillacs in stock. Get down to Claude Nolan Cadillac today. Tell them I sent you. New or certified pre-owned. Begin your lasting relationship at Claude Nolan Cadillac off JTB and Southside across from Tinseltown.
Rusty Acres is your headquarters for used Ford, Lincoln, or Mercury auto parts. And if they don't have it in stock, they'll order it for you. Just call Rusty Acres, your used Ford auto parts headquarters. 786-1777.
This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL. Now, another interview on the Farah and Farah phone line. Brought to you by the Accident Attorneys at Farah and Farah.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, we are glad you are with us. The Major League Baseball season now about 2 weeks old. Boy, Tampa Bay is absolutely on fire. The Atlanta Braves were doing very well. Unfortunately, San Diego kind of derailed that recently. And a lot of big picture issues as far as the pitch clock, the bigger bases, the fact the defenses can't put the shift on. There's a lot to get into. With that, let's go to R.J. Anderson. He follows Major League Baseball and covers it for CBSSports.com, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. R.J., thanks for the time, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
R.J., really appreciate it. And all right, the rule changes. You and I were talking earlier. I was watching a Tampa-Boston game earlier this week that started at 6:40 Eastern. That thing was over at 8:50. Eastern. It was amazing. 2 hours and 10 minutes with this new pitch clock. RJ, a guy like you that follows the game, covers it on a national basis, how is the pitching clock being, I guess, received by the baseball purists out there?
Yeah, I think people are becoming more fond of it now that they've seen it in action. You know, it's always scary to experience change, especially with a fundamental part of the game that we all grew up loving. But at the same time, it's hard to deny that a 1-0 game with very few offensive rallies should take longer than, 2.5 hours at most. So I think we're kind of seeing a return to an improved pace of play. And what I mean by that isn't necessarily the length of the game, but the time between events. We shouldn't have 45 to 50 seconds between pitches. I understand that players want to take their time, clear their minds, get it right, but ultimately, they say baseball is a game of adjustments, and this has just been an adjustment. So I think it's better for the game. I think it's better for the fans, and I think by mid-season we won't even talk about it anymore.
RJ, a guy like me, I'm what I would call a casual baseball fan. By no means am I a diehard, but I know enough about it to talk intelligently about it. At least I think I do. And the fact that the games now are 2.5 hours or even shorter, for a guy like me, RJ, is gold. I love it. I've found myself watching more baseball in the last 2 weeks than I probably did at any point in the last couple of years. I mean, is that kind of the reception from the fan base? This is a good thing that the fans are enjoying?
Yeah, I think most fans are enjoying it, and you're right. If you're not a diehard, you're probably not willing to make that 3.5 hour to 4 hour investment on a game that won't necessarily have a ton of scoring. And that was the problem, I think, for me. There are situations where a game running long is understandable, but when we're talking about low-scoring contests easily clearing, 3.5 hours, then it becomes less enjoyable for the casual fan. And I know that there are situations where a game like that can be exciting. That said, I think those mostly appeal to the diehards. If you're more casual, you want to see some offense and you want to get in and out of the park, or get on with your night within a 3 hour block at least. So this makes it time up and align better with the other sports as well, and I think that's a positive overall for baseball.
R.J. Anderson, CBSSports.com, here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. My one concern, I guess, coming in with the brand new pitch clock and the quicker pace of play, I got buddies that go to Tampa. I try to make it down to Tampa for a few games a year. Same thing in Atlanta. And, when you go to a ball game, RJ, you want to grab a couple of cold beers and a couple of dogs and enjoy an afternoon or evening at the ballpark. And now the fans that are actually going to the stadium are probably there an hour less than they would have been in the past. Has there been any kickback on that, or have you not heard anything of that sort to this point?
Yeah, I saw Baseball America released a study that said concession sales haven't really been impacted. And I know that some teams have extended their beer sales. It used to be you couldn't get one after the seventh inning, and now they're saying you can get one throughout the entirety of the game. So I think maybe adjustments like that will help fans kind of adjust to the timeline. You won't feel as rushed or what have you. But ultimately, it's a give and take situation here where they're trying to improve the experience for the viewer. And yes, there are things that are going to be lost in that transfer, but I think overall you just have to hope it's a net positive, because remember, again, if this aligns with the length of a basketball game or the length of a football game or even the length of a hockey game, everyone has adjusted to the pace of those games in terms of, intermissions and what have you, and in terms of getting their meal, getting their drinks or what have you. So I think that ultimately, people are going to adjust and people are going to be fine in the long run, even if you're in the first few weeks it may feel a little off or a little awkward.
You know, another rule change or two that I've noticed that clearly stands out when you're watching a game, stolen bases are up. The bases are, I guess, bigger than they have been in the past. The defenses cannot shift as much now. You have to have two infielders on both sides of second base. How have those been received?
Yeah, I think it's made for a more exciting and dynamic game. And I think one factor that's also contributing to the stolen bases being up is the fact that pitchers are limited in how much they can disengage with the rubber now. You can only throw over twice, and if you throw over a third time, you have to either pick that runner off or the runner gets second base via balk. So I think in reintroducing the stolen base is really a net positive for the game. Speaking personally, I find it to be one of the most exciting plays in the sports because, you know, there's gamesmanship involved, you know, there's strategy involved, but also it's a showcase of a runner's athleticism and a catcher's ability to, you know, throw those runners out. And I think that's really a basic core principle of baseball. I think it's really fun to see that exhibited. As for the other things, you know, the larger bases, I talked to players in the past who had played with these side bases and liked it because they felt it reduced the injury risk. And the defensive shifts, look, I mean, we're not at a point where a ball up the middle is automatically a base hit again, but, you know, I haven't really missed the shifts, and I didn't necessarily like the idea of limiting strategy in that way, but for me, you know, I found it to be pleasant so far. So, you know, I'm critical of Major League Baseball when I feel it's warranted. In this situation, I mostly like the new rules, and I'm pretty pleased with the product so far. I think, you know, baseball has been more enjoyable for casual fans like yourself to tune into and go to games so far this season, so I have to give them credit. It seems like they did a good job here.
RJ Anderson of CBSSports.com covering the world of Major League Baseball. RJ, why 2023? Why was now the time to implement all these rule changes?
Well, part of it was because the collective bargaining agreement expired prior to the start of last season. And obviously with the owner-imposed lockout, you know, it forced the regular season to be compromised. You know, they had to push back opening day and whatnot. And realistically, there was not enough time to implement these rules as part of that season. So it's sort of just a natural balance of things with the CBA. And, you know, these collection of rules are something that have been talked about since Rob Manfred became commissioner. I seem to recall one of his first interviews he gave was talking about potentially banning or limited of its positioning. So, you know, that came to fruition all these years later. But I think it's just kind of a natural heartbeat of the game as it relates and associates with the CBA.
You know, now let's get to the on-the-field product, and I guess the story in Major League Baseball right now is the Tampa Bay Rays and what they are doing. Just an absolute red-hot start. It never ceases to amaze me. I mean, I remember the expansion Rays. I was in the stands as a 15-year-old watching Wilson Alvarez and Roberto Hernandez and Esteban Yan. I mean, I was into it, you know, back then, and then I kind of fell out of love with the game, and the Rays were down for so many years. But you go to the last decade plus, low payroll, guys will leave, they'll trade guys off, but seemingly every year the Rays are in the mix, and they are the hottest team in baseball out of the gate right now. I mean, how does Tampa Bay seemingly do this every single season?
Yeah, I think they're real equipped in terms of analytics, and, you know, they know the profiles they excel at, and, you know, I can sit here and tell you the exact profile of player they like, especially pitching-wise, and, you know, lately it's been guys with good vertical movement on their pitches, and, you know, they like the different arm angles and arm actions and whatnot, and, you know, they're really true to that, and to be honest, they can kind of operate in a public relations vacuum, which is not something that other teams have the benefit of doing. You know, they don't have to worry about, oh, if we trade this superstar, this star, you know, our fans going to come through the gate, because obviously, you know, with the stadium situation being what it is, they haven't really had to worry about that either way. So I think that kind of removes some pressures from their whole operation, and it kind of frees them up to just do what they want to do. And, you know, they kind of operate like a day trader. You know, a lot of their stuff is algorithm based. They take the emotion out of it, and I find it to be a negative a lot of the times, but obviously it has led to positive results for them, and they do a good job of getting on the same page as an organization. I think that's really an underrated facet of any organization, and the best organizations are able to blend the different components in a way that, you know, the worst organizations, so to speak, are not able to do, and I think that they're one of the better ones at doing that.
I never thought, RJ, they would find a guy like Joe Maddon again, and I don't know if he's necessarily reached Joe Maddon status, but he's in the conversation. I mean, Kevin Cash is a heck of a manager down there.
Yeah, and he's a good conduit between the front office and the analytics department they have there and the clubhouse. And I think Madden, when Madden was first hired, he was not someone who was viewed as a hot property. He'd been the bench coach in Anaheim for a number of years, and he'd come up short in job interviews for other managerial positions, including the Boston Red Sox. That job went to Terry Francona, and obviously that worked out fine for Boston. But I think Cash has followed a similar path. Maybe he has a slightly, maybe a more muted personality than Madden had. I think maybe a little less desire to be, a prominent figure or what have you, and that works just fine for them. But he's probably the most successful manager who's kind of anonymous on a national level because he doesn't seek out attention, and frankly, he probably goes out of his way to be boring in interviews and whatnot because it's just not what he is, and it's just not how they approach things. So, credit to him for buying into the entire organizational philosophy. It's kind of what I just said. The best organizations are really seamless, and what I mean by that is from the front office to the player development staff, with the coaches and players and everyone else in between, they're all on the same page. They all share philosophies. They all understand what they're there to do and how to do it. And Cash is a proponent of that in Tampa Bay.
Final moments here with R.J. Anderson, CBSSports.com, covering the world of Major League Baseball. R.J., the Atlanta Braves in the National League also got off to a red-hot start. I think they started 6-1, and then they ran into a little bit of a buzzsaw recently with San Diego, including that Sunday night game. So, look, it's an up-and-down season. It's a roller coaster, and it's unbelievably early. But what's your thought on the Braves about 10 games in?
Yeah, I mean, we know they're going to be a good team. We know they're going to compete for the National League East title, and for all we know, they're going to compete for another National League pennant. So, you lose a series against San Diego in the nature they did. It's not worth hitting the panic button about or anything like that. We know they're going to probably have to adjust that rotation, be it through, getting Max Fried back, or be it through a trade later this season, or maybe even just helping Jared Schuster and Dylan Dodd develop as young pitchers trying to make it work at the big league level. So they're going to be fine, as long as they stay healthy. And I know they're without Michael Harris right now and without a few other pieces, but as long as they stay healthy, I fully expect them to make the postseason. I fully expect them to compete in the East. And who knows, they might end up being the last team standing from the National League and maybe from the entirety of Major League Baseball again this fall.
Big picture look, the New York Yankees, the Los Angeles Dodgers, the big market teams, maybe the Cubs are off to a little bit of a better start than people envisioned. What's your thought on those teams 2 weeks in?
Yeah, I think the Yankees and the Dodgers, again, are going to be in the same boat as the Braves. We know those are good teams. We know, barring a lot of injuries or unforeseen breakdowns, that they're going to be there in October. It's just a matter of, are they going to be the division winners or are they going to be a wild card team? And in the case of the Cubs, I expect them to be competing more so for a wild card spot, and I'm not sure they're quite there yet. They do have some young talent on the way that will help. If you're not familiar with Pete Crow Armstrong, I would advise you to look into that name. He's a really good center fielder. I think he's drawn comparisons in the past to Mets outfielder Brandon Nimmo. So, that's someone to keep in mind. But I think they're probably a year away from really being, a sure thing to make October the way some of these other teams we've discussed have.
R.J. Anderson of CBSSports.com. R.J., final question. It's obviously unbelievably early, but if you look out in Anaheim, I think every night you look at the Angels and what they're doing with the wins and the losses, because if they fall out of this thing, then Ohtani becomes maybe the most sought-after trade commodity, dare I say, in the history of Major League Baseball. I'm not even sure if I'm overstating that. How is that going to play out? Is he going to be an Angel the entire year?
That's the great question. I don't know the answer to that. On paper, they should be competitive this year. In reality, we've said that last few years, and it doesn't seem like all the pieces ever click into place for them. So it's to be seen, but I think you're probably right to say you'd be the most sought-after trade commodity of all time, just because, whoever gets him at the deadline, if he's made available, will have those exclusive negotiating rights. And we know the Mets and Dodgers and some of these other teams are going to chase him this winter if he becomes a free agent. And having that leg up might end up making the difference. So if he is made available, it's going to be just fascinating to watch. And it's crazy. We had Juan Soto traded last deadline, and somehow we're going to end up topping that if Ohtani is put on the market.
RJ, what do you guys have coming up in the next couple of days over at CBSSports.com?
We cover everything, man. Minors, majors, amateur ranks. If you like baseball, whether it's analytics or humor or what have you, we have something for you. So I would highly advise checking out our site. I have some brilliant colleagues in Dane Perry, Mike Exees, and Matt Snyder, and I can't speak highly enough of them.
RJ Anderson, CBSSports.com. RJ, really appreciate the conversation. It's the first time you and I have talked. It won't be the last, man. Thank you as always. We'll talk soon.
Yeah, anytime. Thank you.
And thank you to my friend RJ Anderson, CBSSports.com, for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark as the Major League Baseball season now 2 weeks old. Of course, the Tampa Bay Rays off to a red-hot start. The Atlanta Braves looking awfully good. And again, as a casual guy that observes the game of baseball, don't really have too big a dog in the fight. I would call myself a throwback Tampa Bay Rays fan, although it's been a lot of fun watching them over the last 2 weeks. I absolutely love the rule changes, man. Love them. The bigger bases, which are bigger for stolen bases. You got the lack of defensive shifts. You have to have 2 infielders on each side of second base, which allows more opportunity for hitters. And then, of course, the pitch clock, which are making these games that have been 3 hours and 15 minutes now 2.5 hours, or in some instances even less. That is absolutely, to me, fantastic for the game of Major League Baseball. So that'll just about do it on what has been a very busy Wednesday night edition of Hacker After Dark. Again, thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. We got a lot of people to thank. Again, RJ Anderson, CBSSports.com, covering the world of Major League Baseball. Thank you to Bill Bender of the Sporting News, as Florida has the orange and blue game tomorrow. Miami is on the field for their spring game on Friday, and the Garnet and Gold game over in Tallahassee on Saturday, as the Gators, the Hurricanes, and the Seminoles all wind down spring practice. Thank you to Bill Bender for joining us tonight, and Tyler Rowland of the Locked On Titans podcast. What is Tennessee going to do with the 11th pick in the draft? Are they thinking about moving up? How much is Anthony Richardson really in play there in Nashville? And what about their offseason, including signing former Jaguar defensive end Arden Key? We talked about all that with Tyler Rowland, the host of the Locked On Titans podcast. We'll be back tomorrow night on a Thursday, and we will do it all over again beginning at 8 o'clock. Dylan Denmark was your producer tonight. Dylan, great job as always. I'm the Hacker Ryan Green. And again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending your Wednesday evening with us right here on Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. So for all of us here on HAD, have an absolutely terrific remainder of your Wednesday evening, and we will talk to you tomorrow night on a Thursday beginning at 8 o'clock. Until then, good night, Jacksonville.